Most home gardens are full of tomatoes, peppers, and a little salad patch. Nice to look at, tasty too. But let me ask you a serious question. If grocery shelves suddenly stayed empty for weeks, would that cute salad bed actually feed you? I have spent years studying food crops that truly fill the plate, not just decorate it. So today, I am showing you 14 crops that can keep your household from starving, even in tough times. We are talking about crops that are calorie-dense, long-storing, productive in small spaces, and realistic for a home garden. Stay with me to crop number 13, a sneaky perennial that gives onions for years with almost no effort, and a bonus plan at the end that shows you how to arrange these crops so something is always ready to harvest. Before we dive into the crops, do me a small favor. Hit that like button so this video reaches more home growers, subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next episodes in this series, and share this video with a friend or family member who talks about starting a garden. You help this community grow every time you do that. All right, let's get into it. The first crop on this list has to be potatoes. There's a reason whole communities have lived on potatoes in hard times. They pack serious calories. They grow in most climates, and they do extremely well in small spaces. Potatoes grow in raised beds, grow bags, barrels, or simple ground rows. A short 3-meter row can give you 7 to 10 kilos of food. That is the real volume on the dinner table. Look for reliable varieties in your region. Many gardeners like yellow types for mash and roast dishes, and white or red types for boiling and fries. The exact names depend on your country, so check what local growers trust. To grow them, plant seed potatoes in loose soil. Cover them lightly. As the plants grow, add more soil around the stems so more tubers form. Harvest when the tops die back and the skins are firm. Here's a storage tip. Cure your potatoes in a cool spot out of direct sun for about 2 weeks. Then move them to a dark space that stays cold and dry. Stored this way, they hold for months and basically become your homegrown staple food. Next up is dry beans. Most people grow green beans and eat them fresh. That is fine, but for survival, you want beans that dry in the pod and go straight into jars or buckets. Cooked dry beans give solid calories, protein, and fiber in the same spoonful. That means one crop covers energy and nutrition at the same time. You can grow bush beans or climbing beans. Bush types fit small beds, while pole beans climb up a simple frame and turn vertical space into food. To grow them for drying, 1. Sow after frost. 2. Let the pods stay on the plant until they turn brown and papery. 3. Shell them out. 4. Spread the beans in a thin layer for a week so they dry fully. And 5. Store in jars or food-safe buckets. Dry beans stored correctly stay useful for several years. What is your favorite bean recipe? Chili, stew, beans and rice? Drop it in the comments. It gives others ideas too. Crop number 3 is sweet potatoes, and I like to think of them as the more nutritious cousin of regular potatoes. They pack complex carbohydrates that keep your energy steady, plus beta-carotene and vitamin C that supports your eyes, skin, and overall strength. They thrive in warm climates, but gardeners in slightly cooler areas can still grow them by warming the soil with black plastic or simple row covers. What makes sweet potatoes special is how easy they are to start. Instead of seed pieces, you grow them from slips, which are little shoots that sprout from mature sweet potatoes. You can buy slips, but honestly, growing your own is just as simple. Place a sweet potato in water or soil, give it a bit of warmth, and in a few weeks you'll have rooted shoots ready to plant. Once they're in the ground, sweet potatoes don't ask for much. Loose, well-drained soil, warm weather, and steady moisture during the first few weeks. After that, the vines take off, spreading across the bed and quietly building those big, starchy tubers underneath. It's one of those crops that rewards patience. You don't see much happening on the surface, but the real magic is happening underground. Harvest time feels like treasure hunting.
Dig gently, gather the tubers, and then comes the important part that many beginners skip: curing. Keep your sweet potatoes in a warm, slightly humid space for about 10 days. This simple step toughens the skin and boosts the sweetness. After curing, move them to a cool, dry place, and they'll store beautifully for several months. By the time the cold season arrives, you'll still have a steady supply of food on hand. And here's a bonus that most people overlook: the leaves are edible. You can sauté them like spinach, toss them into stews, or steam them as a quick side dish. So with sweet potatoes, you're not just growing a root crop, you're getting both greens and tubers from the same plant, stretching your harvest even further. Number 4 is grain corn. Not the sweet corn you roast for a weekend treat, but starch-rich varieties used for flour, meal, or grits. This kind of corn dries fully on the stalk. The kernels go hard, and you grind them later with a simple grain mill. That gives you cornmeal for porridge, bread, and flatbreads. To get good pollination, plant corn in blocks instead of single rows. Water well during flowering, then let the ears stay until the husks and stalks dry down. When the kernels pop off easily and are solid and glassy, bring the ears indoors, finish drying them, then shell and store. Grain corn is pure energy. Combined with beans, you get a powerful carb plus protein combo that has carried villages through tough seasons for generations. We have roots, grains, and beans. In a minute, I will show you one crop that secretly stores itself in the soil with zero effort from you. Crop number 5 is winter squash, and this one is a powerhouse in any survival-focused garden. When people talk about long-lasting vegetables, this is what they mean. Winter squash develops those thick, hard rinds that protect the flesh inside, turning each fruit into its own natural storage container. You've got varieties like butternut, kabocha, Hubbard types, and certain pumpkins that are bred specifically to store for months without any refrigeration. That alone makes winter squash one of the most valuable crops you can grow at home. What I love about this plant is how much food you get from a single vine. Give it warm soil, full sun, and a little elbow room, and it will reward you with heavy, nutrient-dense fruits that sit comfortably on a shelf for 3 to 6 months. That kind of shelf life is rare in the vegetable world. Many gardeners underestimate winter squash because it looks simple, but the return on investment is massive. Now, I know not everyone has a huge yard, and these vines do like to stretch out, but you can get creative. Train them up sturdy trellises and support the fruits with slings from old fabric. Vertical growing works surprisingly well and saves a lot of ground space without hurting your... When harvest time arrives, resist the urge to pick them early. You want that rind to be tough and the stem to turn dry and corky. That's your sign that the fruit has matured and will store properly. After harvest, cure them in the sun or on a warm porch for about a week. This simple step helps harden the rind even more and extends their storage life. Once cured, move them to a cool, dry spot and forget about them until you need them. They just wait for you, holding their flavor and nutrition. Imagine a shelf lined with butternuts, kabochas, and pumpkins, all glowing in warm autumn light. That right there, those rows of long-lasting, no-refrigeration meals is what security looks like in plant form. Number 6 looks pretty, but we are not growing it only for looks. Sunflowers, especially oilseed types, are a serious survival crop. Sunflower seeds contain concentrated calories, protein, and healthy fats. That gives you energy that normal greens and salad plants can never match. Grow black oil or other seed types, not just ornamental ones. Plant them after frost, give them sun, and they basically run on autopilot. When the back of the flower head turns yellow and the seeds are plump, cut the heads, hang them somewhere dry, then rub the seeds off once they are crisp. Stored in jars in a cool cupboard, those seeds stay useful for many months. Would you press your own cooking oil from sunflowers or roast them and snack? Tell me in the comments. Crop 7 is storage carrots, and these humble roots are far tougher and more reliable than they look. People tend to think of carrots as a light, snack-type vegetable, but the storage varieties are absolute workhorses. When you grow them properly, they hold their sweetness, their crunch, and their nutrients for months, making them one of the best long-term food crops you can rely on. The key to good carrots starts with the soil. They want loose, deep, stone-free earth so the roots can grow straight and long without hitting obstacles. Any resistance underground makes them fork or twist, so preparing that bed really pays off later. Once the soil's right, the next step is timing. Carrots thrive in cool weather, and storage types especially develop better flavor and texture as the temperatures drop. That's why late summer sowing for a fall harvest works beautifully. The warm soil helps with germination, and the cool autumn air helps with sweetness. When harvest time comes, be patient and wait until you've had a few cool nights. Those chilly temperatures trigger the roots to store sugars, which deepens their flavor. Pull them gently, shake off excess soil, but don't wash them. Washing removes their natural protective layer. Just trim the greens to about 1/2 inch so they don't draw moisture from the root, and then pack them in boxes filled with slightly damp sand or sawdust. This creates a stable, humid environment that keeps them crisp without letting them rot. Stored in a cool place like a cellar, basement, or insulated shed, storage carrots can last several months. And the magic is that their flavor often improves during storage. They get sweeter as time goes on, which makes them even better for winter soups, stews, and roasting. Now here's a trick that many gardeners never take advantage of. In mild climates where the soil doesn't freeze solid, you can leave your carrots right in the ground. Just cover the bed with a thick layer of mulch, straw, leaves, anything you have. That mulch insulates the soil, and suddenly your garden becomes a natural refrigerator. Instead of storing carrots indoors, you simply dig them up as you need them. Fresh, crisp, beautifully flavored carrots all winter long, straight from the earth with zero storage fuss. For a survival garden, that kind of simplicity and reliability is priceless. Number 8 on our list is storage onions, and they deserve far more credit than they usually get. Most people think of onions as just a flavor boost, but in a real survival pantry, they play a major role. They add carbohydrates, minerals, and depth to almost every cooked dish. When you have storage onions on hand, your meals instantly become richer, warmer, and far more satisfying. They're one of the few crops that genuinely change what you're able to cook in winter. Storage onions form firm bulbs with tight, dry skins that naturally resist sprouting. To grow them well, timing is everything. You start early, either by sowing seeds indoors or by planting small onion sets right at the beginning of the season as soon as the soil is workable. They take their time, slowly building those beautiful layered bulbs beneath the surface. You'll know they're ready when most of the tops flop over and start to dry out. That's the onion's way of saying, "I'm done growing." Let them rest in the soil for a short while in dry weather, then lift them gently and spread them out on racks or mesh screens to cure. Good airflow is important here. The necks need to dry down completely, and the outer skins need to turn papery. Once cured, trim the tops and roots and store your onions in mesh bags or baskets in a cool, dry space. Under the right conditions, they can last close to a full year. That's an entire year of flavor, calories, and flexibility sitting quietly in your pantry. Picture an empty pantry, cold, bleak, nothing to work with. Now, picture that same pantry filled with baskets of onions and potatoes stacked neatly on shelves. Suddenly, you have options. Soups, stews, roasts, stir-fries, all waiting to happen. A shelf full of storage onions is not glamorous, but it is pure cooking freedom in winter. Crop 9 is hardneck garlic. Garlic gives flavor, but it also has real nutritional and traditional medicinal value, and it is one of the simplest crops to replant from your own harvest. Plant individual cloves in autumn, pointy end up, several weeks before the ground freezes in your climate. They root, sit quietly through winter, then burst into growth once spring arrives. Hardneck garlic produces curly flower stalks called scapes early in summer. Cut those and use them in cooking. It adds a mild garlic taste and boosts bulb size. Harvest when the lower leaves turn brown and only a few upper leaves stay green. Cure the bulbs in shade with good airflow for a few weeks. After that, store them in baskets or mesh bags. The best part?
Save your nicest bulbs and use them as seed for next autumn. Over time, your own garlic line adapts to your garden. If this breakdown is helping you plan a real food garden, tap that like button and subscribe. It tells YouTube to show this to more gardeners who need the same information. All right, let's move into the leafy powerhouses next. Number 10 is kale, and this is where we shift from survival calories to survival nutrition. Everything we've covered so far fills your pantry, but kale is what keeps your body functioning well through hard seasons. It's one of the toughest greens you can grow. Light frost? It doesn't care. Cold wind? It keeps producing. While lettuces and spinach collapse at the slightest temperature drop, kale stands tall and keeps pushing out leaves. The beauty of kale is its cut-and-come-again nature. You don't harvest the whole plant. You simply pick the older, outer leaves and let the center continue growing. One plant can keep feeding you for weeks, sometimes months if you stagger your plantings, and it fits almost anywhere: garden beds, raised planters, even large containers on a balcony. Nutritionally, kale is loaded. Vitamins A, C, and K, plus calcium and antioxidants that genuinely strengthen your immune system. When fresh produce becomes scarce, kale becomes your lifeline to important micronutrients. And here's the part that ties your garden together. Kale works beautifully in the kitchen with other survival crops. Add chopped kale to a pot of beans and potatoes, and suddenly you have a complete, nourishing meal with protein, carbs, and greens, all from your backyard. It's a simple reminder that these crops don't just work individually, they support each other on the plate, turning your survival garden into real, comforting food. Crop 11 is Swiss chard, also called leaf beet in some places. I like to think of chard as your emergency salad and cooking green. It handles heat better than spinach, and with steady harvesting it produces for a long season. You can fry the leaves, toss them into soups, or use the midribs like a mild stock vegetable. Chard grows fast, which makes it a useful gap filler between slower crops. When you're waiting for potatoes or squash to mature, chard makes sure your plate still has something fresh and green. Would you grow colorful rainbow chard just for the look or mostly for food? Tell me below. I am curious what you prefer. Number 12 is storage cabbage, and this crop has quietly carried entire communities through long, food-scarce winters for generations. A good storage cabbage isn't just a vegetable, it's a dependable block of nutrition that sits patiently until you need it. Storage varieties form tight, heavy heads with thick leaves, and they're specifically bred to last in cool, humid environments for months at a time. To grow cabbage for long-term keeping, timing is everything. You want those heads to mature in cool weather, not the heat of summer. When cabbage grows in autumn conditions, the heads turn denser, sweeter, and far better suited for storage. Once you harvest them, take off the damaged outer leaves but leave the wrapper leaves intact. Those outer layers act like built-in protection as the cabbage sits in storage. Then, move them into a cool, humid place. A cellar, basement, even an insulated shed can work. Stored properly, cabbage holds its shape, flavor, and crunch deep into winter. And the versatility is incredible. Fresh cabbage becomes slaw, soups, stir-fries, and hearty stews. But the real magic is fermentation. Turn part of your harvest into sauerkraut, and suddenly you have a food that lasts even longer while adding beneficial bacteria that support digestion and overall health. And here's the hook that surprises most people. A single bed of cabbage can easily turn into dozens of meals. When you combine fresh dishes with preserved ones, you stretch that harvest for months. It's one of the most efficient and dependable crops you can grow for true food security. Crop 13 is where things get exciting. Perennial onions, such as Egyptian walking onions or Welsh onions. Unlike regular onions, these come back year after year with almost no replanting. Some grow small bulbs at the top of the stalk that bend down and root themselves. Others form clumps that slowly expand. You can harvest green stems like scallions, the small top bulbs, and the underground bulbs. One planting turns into a permanent onion patch. This kind of crop is pure gold for survival. Even if you forget to plant something one season, your perennial onions still greet you every spring. This is the lazy gardener's onion. Plant it once, and in the future, you will thank the present you.
Our 14th crop is not a vegetable at all. It is a dwarf fruit tree. It could be an apple, pear, or another long-storing fruit that suits your climate. Here's why it matters. Annual crops need attention and planting every year. A fruit tree, once established, gives harvests for decades. In one good year, you can pick tens of kilos of fruit from a tree, then store, dry, or preserve it. Choose a disease-resistant variety that local gardeners recommend, planted in full sun with decent soil and good drainage. Yes, trees take time, but 3 to 5 years from now, that one decision can pay you back with more food than an entire small bed of annuals. If you could only plant one fruit tree in your yard, or even in a big container, which one would you choose?
All right, we've gone through the list. Now let me give you the bonus piece that turns these crops into a real survival system instead of random plants. The secret is an overlapping harvest calendar. In spring, you harvest green onions, kale, chard, and the first perennial onions. Early summer, garlic scapes, fresh beans, and young carrots start coming in. Mid and late summer, potatoes, onions, grain corn, sunflowers, and early apples start to roll in. Autumn, you dig sweet potatoes, harvest winter squash, storage carrots, cabbage, and the main garlic and onion bulbs. In winter, you eat from your stored potatoes, squash, carrots, onions, garlic, cabbage, sunflower seeds, dry beans, and apples, while perennial onions, kale, and chard still give some green in mild areas. When you map this out on paper and plant with timing in mind, you go from a cute hobby garden to a system that always has something ready. That is how a small piece of land saves you from hunger, not just for a week, but month after month. If you watched all the way through, you are serious about growing real food, not just pretty garnish. I respect that. Tell me in the comments, which of these 14 crops are you already growing? Which one are you adding next season for sure? Your comment might give somebody else watching this the idea they needed. If this video helped you, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with a friend who talks about starting a garden but has not done it yet. We're going to build a whole series on crops, soil, and simple layouts that turn your backyard into a real food source, so you're not at the mercy of empty shelves. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you